We now have a small look into the findings from a special grand jury out of Georgia, which looked into possible efforts to disrupt the 2020 presidential election. Former President Donald Trump, his allies, and a string of Republicans involved in an alternate elector scheme faced scrutiny during the investigation. After interviewing 75 witnesses, the grand jury unanimously agreed there was no widespread voter fraud in the state. They also say some witnesses may have committed perjury. Here's Robert Costa.
For more than 7 months, allies close to former President Donald Trump have appeared in Atlanta behind closed doors to speak under oath about his relentless efforts to overturn President Biden's 2020 victory in Georgia. Now, that special grand jury in Fulton County, convened by District Attorney Fani Willis, says some of them might have lied and recommended charges be filed. The report did not identify who, but 75 witnesses have been part of the grand jury's work, including longtime Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, and South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, who was asked today if he was confident in his testimony.
Yes, I'm very confident. I have no idea what they're going to do.
The district attorney launched her investigation after a recording showed Trump's pressure campaign on top Georgia officials, including Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
Look, Brad, I have to find 12,000 votes, and I have them.
Despite Trump and his allies' repeated false claims that the state's vote was rigged,
there's no way we lost Georgia.
The entire grand jury agreed no widespread fraud took place in the Georgia 2020 presidential election. Most of the report remains under seal, but the judge overseeing the case says it does include a roster of who should or should not be indicted. Georgia state law professor Clark Cunningham said he expects Trump to be on that list. Could Trump be indicted?
I think I will be surprised that he's not eventually indicted.
The district attorney here recently said decisions are imminent, and if she decides to move forward, a new regular grand jury would be convened to issue indictments. And former President Trump, he said in his statement today that he has done nothing wrong. John.
Bob, I want to pick up on what Professor Cunningham said in your piece. Donald Trump is facing a lot of legal challenges in life in a lot of different venues, but experts think this might be a case that's one of the strongest against him. Why is that?
In part, John, it's because we have some visibility into this now with this partial report. We know that these jurors are trying to at least suggest that there was a crime that took place here in terms of perjury, possibly other crimes that took place in terms of the pressure on the Georgia election officials. And so we have a read on this as reporters, as observers, and we don't have the same kind of read, at least at this moment, into the special counsel investigating Trump in January 6th. He is certainly issuing subpoenas for that investigation, but we don't know exactly where that's moving in terms of potential indictments.
Speaking of that special counsel, the Washington Post and other news organizations are reporting the DOJ that the special counsel has subpoenaed former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Remind us again why the special counsel would want to talk to Meadows.
Meadows was in the room. As they say in Hamilton, you want to be in the room, but maybe not in the room with former President Trump during that post-election period in 2020, because all of those who have been in the room, the Oval Office with him, you're such a student and historian on the presidency, they have now found themselves facing potential legal vulnerability. And Meadows was at Trump's side again and again, whether it was the interactions with the Georgia election officials by phone or whether it was bringing in lawmakers from the U.S. Congress to talk about blocking the certification of Joe Biden's election at the time. Meadows was present at the creation of the strategy Trump was enacting alongside Rudy Giuliani and so many others. That's why they want to hear from him.
All right, Robert Costa in Charleston on Wednesday, Atlanta on Thursday. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.